It's time for Recipe of the Day. If you are a traditionalist, you are not going to like this baked ziti recipe. This one cuts corners to make it super, super easy to make. It's delicious. It tastes so much like the classic, but I totally hear you. If you want to do it the old-fashioned way, I will link in the show notes to how to make baked ziti the classic way, and you can do that. What's different here is we are skipping boiling a big pot of water and cooking the ziti pasta in it. We are skipping cooking up some onions and garlic, maybe some bell peppers, and then adding ground beef to that and seasoning it and cooking that. We are skipping that. So we are skipping using that pot that you have to wash. We are skipping using that skillet that you're frying your beef in. All of that is skipped instead. Everything goes into a casserole dish with enough liquid that the pasta cooks while in the oven. It takes 5 minutes to assemble this. Then you wrap it in foil and put it in the oven, and it turns out amazing. Believe me, it is true. And if you don't want to believe me, I will say this is a new recipe to my website, so there are no comments on it yet, but I have a no-boil pasta bake that's been on my site for years. It has over 70 comments, tons of 5-star ratings, and if you read those comments, you'll see so many people saying that it's a go-to. They make it over and over again. They use it as a base. They change it up. They do all kinds of things to it. So if you are skeptical and don't think it will work, go and read those comments at my no-boil pasta bake, which I'll also link to, and you will be convinced, and then you have to try it. So like I said, one of the keys to this recipe is that we are cooking the pasta right in the casserole dish. It's kind of like when you do those like no-boil lasagna noodles and you have to add extra liquid. And like my mom discovered so many years ago, you can make the no-boil lasagna pasta recipes with regular lasagna if you just add a little bit of liquid. So you can totally do that, and that's how this works. The other key to it is that we're using already cooked meat or protein. So the easiest thing to do is to get some fully cooked sausages. There are a bunch of different brands out there. The ones I'm aware of are Aidells and Alfresco that have like fully cooked chicken sausage with Italian flavors. You can do that. I've done this recipe with kielbasa as well, which I know is not Italian and has a completely different flavor profile, but it is delicious in there also. Or you can use any kind of leftover cooked meat that you have, chicken, beef from like roast beef, roast pork, or you could do a rotisserie chicken, or you can of course cook up some meat and use that. For a vegetarian option or just like a super simple pantry option, you can use 2 14-ounce cans of beans that you've drained. I like cannellini beans or chickpeas in here, but kidney beans also work really well. So any of those options just make it a super simple weeknight dinner. So I'm going to tell you how to make this in just 1 second. I promise. I'm just going to give you the one caveat. So you are only using one pan, that one casserole dish. So cleanup is a breeze. Like I said, you're not spending time boiling that water, cooking that pasta, or cooking up that meat. That saves all that time and dishes, but this does go into the oven for a long time. So when you're going to make this, just make sure you've given yourself over an hour. That is almost all hands-off oven time, but it does need to get in there. If you want to eat dinner at 6, do not start making this at 5:30. It won't be ready. That is the one caveat. Okay, you're going to start by preheating the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're going to get out a 13 by 9 inch baking dish or casserole dish. You want it to be fairly low, more like a baking dish, not like tall, narrow one, because we need everything to spread out enough that the heat's going to get to it soon. If it's like a tall, narrow dish, the very center is going to take longer to get hot and it's not going to cook properly. So really like a big brownie pan or cake dish. That's the kind of thing that you want, okay? Now into there, you are putting 8 ounces of uncooked, dried, regular ziti pasta or penne pasta, 8 ounces of that, and 12 ounces of fully cooked meat. That is 4 of those cooked sausage links I was talking about. And you're going to cut that sausage into 1/4 inch thick slices, or you're going to, whatever meat you have, get that into little pieces that are like bite size. If it's cooked ground beef, you're just adding that in. Then you are also adding a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes with the juice, and you're adding 1 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese. There will be more later, but 1 cup is getting mixed in here. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. You can add other seasonings here if you want as well. Half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of Italian seasoning is a great choice. Give that a stir, and then you're pouring a cup of heavy cream over top of that. Do not use milk or a lower fat that cream, because the high heat and the tomatoes, that is for sure going to curdle in that hot oven. That's not going to work. Heavy cream has a higher fat content, and so it's bonded better in its emulsion and is less likely to break and curdle. Now, if you don't want to use the heavy cream, I'm about to tell you that along with the cup of heavy cream, you would add a cup of low sodium chicken stock. You could make that 2 cups of low sodium chicken stock instead and skip the cream. It's not going to be a creamy sauce, like kind of rosé sauce that you get from the picture shown, but it's still going to be delicious. Don't worry about it. So that was 1 cup of heavy cream and 1 cup of chicken stock, or 2 cups of chicken stock. So you just drizzle that cream and stock over top, and then use a wooden spoon to just push down any pasta to make sure that it's fully submerged. Then, this is very important, you're covering this with 2 layers of aluminum foil. Heavy duty aluminum foil is best. Really big pieces of it to make sure that everything is really well sealed in there. This is critical because we want the liquid to stay inside of there and not evaporate away so that the pasta can really cook in it. And so we're using just the right amount of liquid, because when we're done, we don't want it to be like too liquidy. So it has to be enough liquid that the pasta is going to cook, but not so much that it's too watery. And so we want to just put the right amount in there and then trap it inside. Okay. So you're going to wrap that in the aluminum foil really well, seal it really well. And then that goes into the oven until the pasta is tender, which is going to take about 50 minutes, 50. Then remove that from the oven, give it a stir, and then you're going to top it with 1 cup of ricotta cheese. Just kind of like dollop it all over there. And you can put that in so that it's submerged a little bit, and then add another cup of mozzarella cheese over top. And you're going to also do a sprinkling, 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. Then it goes back into the oven uncovered just until the ricotta is heated through and the cheese is melted. It's only going to take about 5 minutes. Then you're taking that out of the oven and you're leaving it uncovered on the counter for 15 minutes. You want it to rest for that full 15 minutes. This is really important because the sauce kind of thickens up. It stops like bubbling all over the place, and that lets it kind of like seep into the pasta a little bit more, seep into nooks and crannies, and it also evaporates just a little bit, and that's what kind of thickens it up and makes it perfect. So don't skip the resting. Now, if you haven't tried one of my no-boil pastas before, you are in for a treat. I'm going to link to some other ones in the show notes for you too. There's a no-boil feta pasta and a no-boil chicken Alfredo, I think. So look in the show notes for those. And if you want this recipe, I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is September 9th of 2025. And if you make this recipe and love it, or any of the recipes from my websites, make sure you go and leave a comment and a 5-star rating. I love hearing your words, seeing what you have to say about the recipes. So definitely leave that comment. And the 5-star rating, well, that lets other people find these recipes. They see the 5 stars on Google when they're searching, and they're more likely to click on over. I appreciate it if you've already left some of those comments. I know a lot of you are doing it. And if you haven't before, go and do one now. Find a recipe you love from my site and leave a comment and 5-star rating. Thank you so much. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.